Sorry, folks. If my hair goes flopping around, it's because I put my fan on a little bit higher because it's warm in here. Might have to fix my tapestry over there because it wants to get sucked into the fan. Give me another second. Okay, that works better. I put one of my candle stands in front of it. No, it's not a lit candle. Actually, I think it's a fake, one of those fake light up candles. But it's been one of those days where I'm just kind of like laughing at little things. I mean, literally just laughing at everything that just seems to be going awry. And it's just kind of like, okay. Yeah, sure. I think tomorrow, after we get done with the doctors, I'm going to come in here and clear out some of this other stuff that needs to go to Goodwill. I might have to fix up the back of my van, but that also depends on, maybe I'll do that in the morning after I wake up. The thing I'm going to have to do a grocery pickup in the morning anyhow. But I need to clean up the back of my van a little bit. I'm trying to straighten it out so there's not a bunch of camp bedding just rolling around the back of my seat. But the thing is, if it's too tall and blocks my view out the back window, then I might have to think of other ways of dealing with it. But yeah, I'm trying to I thought I heard movement back there. Might have been just the tapestry trying to untangle itself. But yeah, things around here are getting a little bit better. Now that I'll be returning back to work in early August, that will make things look even better, and we'll just have to deal with whatever comes our way a little bit at a time, because there's certain things I'm just not sure about, so I'm not talking about them because they're more on Jerry than me. But I wanted to talk to you about 3 different things, if I can, without going too far, extending stuff too far. I pulled out my 2 cookbooks that I have in here. I'm actually thinking about going through them and trying to find recipes that I don't remember if I did them or not. I should actually sit on my computer and try to categorize my different videos, from cooking to vlogs to Vikings to, you know, the different subjects I talk about. But we all know this one because this is the one I've been using the most when it came to the Nordic foods that were healthy for you and had all the different health information at the bottom. But I had also recently gotten, not recently, it's probably, I think I got it for Christmas or my birthday, I can't remember. It looks like I started looking at the different recipes. But I want to go through and write the different, mark the different recipes with my little arrow markers. This whole book here, the Scandy Kitchen, which is basically food from the Scandinavian territories, which, if you look at an old map, Scandinavia was made up of 4 different countries that were just called Scandinavia, that were the Viking territories, and that would have been Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and then what is now considered northeast Russia, because there was a group of Norsemen or Vikings that had red hair, and you think, oh yeah, they went to Ireland. No. If you look at the history of the name Russia and the history of northeast Russia, all the way back to the 800 AD, you would find out that a group of redheaded Norsemen, which were called Rush, R-U-S, had actually migrated that way and took over that part of northern Russia. And it wasn't until like after the Viking era that they added the last letters of Russia to make just Russia. And it was because of the red-headed Vikings. And I learned that from 4 different books that I can think of off the top of my head that had that piece of historical knowledge. But this particular cookbook, the Scandy Kitchen, simply delicious dishes for any occasion. And it goes from like simple, the Scandinavian or the Scandy pantry, which is basically the various herbs, spices, and items that you'd find in a common Scandinavian pantry. And no, Scandinavia is not a country or people of today. It was a territory back during the Norse era, or Viking era, as most people want to say in the history books. Then after the Scandy pantry is breakfast, dinner, open-faced sandwiches, or actually breakfast, open-faced sandwiches, which is basically their lunch, salads, dinner, desserts, baked goods, and various other, what is this? Basically, they're calling it Fiki, F-I-K-A, cannot pronounce it properly, and Hagi or Hugie. Whatever. And of course the index and acknowledgement. And it is written in English, so anybody can go out and buy this book. I got mine off of Amazon and read through it. And I tell you what, I mean, I thought I was going to be like weird, like meals, Scandy Kitchen. Okay, your Scandy Kitchen, it tells you about the different herbs, allspice, caraway seed, cardamom, cinnamon, clove, curry, which I was surprised to see, dill, fresh, fennel seed, ginger, dried, juniper berries, which I don't know if you can find juniper berries here, but that would be interesting to see, licorice root. Use licorice powder, syrup, and root for baking and general cooking. Saffron, salt, orange peel, star anise, vanilla, and of course they talk about the various berries. Loganberry, cloudberry, and they talk about the different types of vinegars, or vegetables, Pickled beetroot, which is just basically pickled beets. Pickled cucumber. Wild mushroom. You can't find wild mushrooms around here. You have to either go out there and grow them yourself, or know somebody who knows where the good wild mushrooms are. Then, of course, they talk about fish, anchovies, herring. Well, I'll say I've eaten herring. It's not that bad. It's just how you make it. Then they talk about the oils, vinegar, mustards, flour, grain. I'm not going to read everything here. Other stuff, which is various types of items that most people don't think about using for a pantry, like baker's ammonia. I can't even stand the smell of regular ammonia, but this must be a special type of ammonia they use in certain biscuit different methods of baking. Then they talk about dried and active dry yeast. Well, of course, anything, most anything you're gonna bake by hand, homemade breads and whatnot, needs yeast. Fresh or compressed yeast, never heard of that before, or instant dry yeast. Never heard of that one before. And of course they talk about drinks, and they're talking about like breakfast drinks that are made with grain or potato-based spirits. Not vodka, but I can't even pronounce this word. But then they have like a fruit punch. Oh yeah, these are liquors. That's a type of vodka, but it's not called vodka, it's called something else. Then their fruit punch is basically a type of Swedish rum liquor. Of course, then they go into breakfast, common looking breakfast, And they have some good sounding breakfasts. I mean, Nordic heart waffles with skyr yogurt and seasonal berries. So, something like that. Rye breads or porridge with skyr and toasted hazelnut. Rye bread porridge, skyr and hazelnuts. Interesting. Now, I've never eaten a hazelnut as is, but since I know Nutella is made with cocoa and hazelnuts, I'll just have to get used to not having that chocolate flavor. Oat rye porridge with loganberries. I will tell you, I've had loganberry jam, and it's delicious. I really like it. Savory dill and something or other cheese muffins. Looks interesting. Phil and Fillinger. Looks like a type of yogurt with looks like chopped walnuts or something like that with seasonal berries. Breakfast open face sandwich. And looks like a, what is this got in it? This is weird. 2 large eggs, 2 slices of light rye sourdough or dark seed rye bread, 2 ripe avocados. Oh, that's not what that green stuff is. A handful of watercress, optional. 1 to 2 teaspoons kosher salt. Or no, that's not kosher salt. That's Kila's caviar. Some kind of caviar. But that's what that looks like. I don't know about the caviar or the Ori Easy eggs, but I definitely would not want the avocado. Beautiful little picture. But anyhow, I'm going to go through this probably within the next 24 hours to just look at the different recipes and mark them so I know where they are and maybe try to make some of this stuff. And if I do, I will record it because I think most of the stuff that I can cook out of here, I've already recorded or talked about. Some of it's really simple. I mean, the Nordic Way book is not just about cooking, it's about diet and healthy living. But some of the foods that I've made out of here that I really liked, let's see if I can find one of them. Well, this is one I haven't tried. I think I'm going to try it one day. Hot cereal with blueberries. So it's a cup of rolled oats, cup of rolled old-fashioned oats, 3 cups cold water, 1 egg white, 1 apple cored and grated, half a cup low-fat plain skyr yogurt or cheddar skyr, which is basically taking low-fat Greek yogurt and wrapping it in a cheesecloth and straining out as much of the liquid as possible and let it sit in a bowl for, or let it sit where it's, I don't know, I forgot how I did it last time, but I made it. I just took Greek yogurt, put it in the cheesecloth, you know, wrapped it up, squeezed it as much as I could, and let it sit overnight to release as much more liquid as possible. Pulled it out the next day, squeeze out more, and when I couldn't get any more liquid out, I just roll it out into a bowl, and boom, you've got cheddar skyr. 3 tablespoons fresh or frozen dried raspberries, blueberries, or raisins. So any one of those 3. So you can either have a fresh 3 tablespoons fresh or frozen berry of one form or another, or raisins if you don't want to deal with that stuff. And then 1 large egg, hard-boiled, optional. And what is it? 2 carbs to 1 protein, 300 calories, 23 grams worth of protein, 63 grams worth of carbohydrates, 5 grams worth of fiber, 6 grams worth of fat, 2 grams of saturated fat, and 24 sodium. And that's for one person. That's just for one person. Now, if you made it for multiple people, you'd have to increase the ingredients to equal the amount of stuff. Yeah, and you know what I'm talking about. I don't know if I did this one or not, but by the looks of this, they didn't use regular ham. They used bruschetta. And it's basically pita with ham, carrot, and cottage cheese. And I tell you what, the only thing I didn't like about it was the cottage cheese. I'm not a big fan of cottage cheese. I tried this once. It's actually fairly decent if you don't mind the cottage cheese in there. It's a fairly simple and quick sandwich. Then, of course, I've done this multiple times. I don't know if I recorded it. The ham and cheese omelet with rolled oats, black pepper, olive oil, slice of ham, 2 slices of cheese, and 1 sliced tomato. And they didn't say what kind of tomato, so it could be any kind of tomato you like. I'm not a big tomato fan, so we never had the tomato on the omelet. But that's just some of the things that are in here that I liked. If I decide to make any of these recipes, and if you've been with me since the beginning and you're like, oh, I remember this, one, I apologize because there's a lot of new people on here. I don't know how many new people want to see me try to make anything from here. What I might do is, if you say that you want me to try something new from here, I'll take the recipes I liked, as well as maybe one recipe I haven't tried that I don't know if I like or not. Put it in put the name of the recipe and a page number in a hat or something, and I can just randomly pick something, you know, whatever. But anyhow, I got a message from one of my viewers that is very into my Nordic stuff and reminded me that I forgot to talk about their sports and games, which I skipped. I thought I made a video, but it seems that video might not have gotten put out. It might have gotten lost in my rampage to clear space for new videos. So I'm going to go back to that real quick. Let's see here, find my local marker and go back a couple pages. Whoa, here we go. I'm not going to read the whole thing like I did last time. I'm just going to do a quick brief, but I'll show you the pictures of what I mean. One of their favorite things to do, and they still do it today, but with different equipment, is cross-country skiing. Because there are 3 ways of getting through the snow in countries like Norway and the other Nordic nations. is either by ski, by dog sled, or snowshoes. Now, before they had dog sleds, they had these skis. And I was reading up on these skis, and they make two different skis. One size elongated, one size shorter. And the shorter one was more of a method of propulsion, while the longer one acted like your rudder on a boat, where you used the big one to go forward, while the smaller one not only helps you propel yourself forward, but it helps you steer yourself. So I'm gonna see if I can. This is what one of their skis would look like. You can tell that this one is longer than that one, and then their snowshoes, which almost look like ice skates. In fact, they are ice skates that were usually made out of wood or bone. Bone was more sturdy on ice skating, but they weren't as strong. They would break easily under the person's weight. So a lot of times they would use wood, a thin wood blade, or something of that sort that was strapped to the bottom of their shoes or their feet. And then they also had snowshoes, which were made out of bent hard wood. They would smoke the wood and slowly bend it into shape, and then they would lace like either strips of leather or one of the things that they use a lot of for sewing, which was animal gut. Dried out, cleaned animal gut. Or not gut, but intestine. Just like, if you didn't know your musical instruments, the bow for your violin is actually made out of horsehair. Or some other fine hair that can be, stretched out and, put together on a bow for your violin. But back in the old days, your bowstring was made out of some sort of animal gut. Your sewing was made out of some form of certain kinds of sewing were made out of animal gut. If they wanted something that was, could be stretched easily without breaking, it was usually animal gut. Because leather, well, if it gets too dried out, cracks and breaks. Animal gut, which is supposed to help them digest the roughage they eat, were pretty, pretty strong. There are other sports where, just simple, like, kids' toys. Leather ball, basically a ball made out of leather stuffed with, one thing or another, or basically a wooden ball that had leather wrapped around it so it wouldn't hurt as much if somebody got smacked with it. They had a form of stickball, basically, as what we used to call it when I was younger. When you didn't have a bat, you had a piece of wood or something like that. But the Norsemen, if you would believe it or not, had a version of chess. Now they couldn't find how many pieces were in chess, but they had a type of chess, checkers, and a few other board games. And archaeologists found these 4 pieces, or 5 pieces, in a grave with a Norseman. A lot of times these board games, especially during winter and long voyages, kept the peace. Because one of the things Vikings like to do is challenge themselves, whether they challenge themselves or they challenge their fellow Viking. And it wasn't all about physical challenge. It was about mental challenge. And that's what a lot of these games were for. Strategy. Chess was originally designed as a strategy-based board game. Yeah, you had your certain pieces that could move certain ways, and other pieces that can move different ways and have different, like characteristics. Almost like regular chess. You're protecting the king, and you're using your other pieces to defend the king and try to take out your opponent's king. And back then, I don't think there was I don't even know how many pieces were on a chessboard. But back then, smaller board, less pieces, you know. Now, I believe that a lot of the games that we have nowadays, like checkers, chess, probably something on a larger scale like Stratego, if you remember that little game, before electronic games and whatnot came to play. I mean, look at all the games that we had growing up. If you're a 70s, 80s baby, before Comcast and Atari and all those different electronic games, we had, you know, Battleship, Checkers, Sorry, Clue, Monopoly. I'm kind of glad that Clue and Monopoly are still around. But you had a lot of different board games that were based on not just having fun, but learning strategy on a board. And that's basically what they did on long voyages when they were going from Norway to England. That's pretty, a pretty good long voyage. You're going to get tired and bored of just sitting on the boat and letting the wind carry you across the sea. Well, in order to keep the peace and not destroy your boat, it was best to find a way to let out your anxieties or let out your tension or whatever. So they created these various board games or games of one form or another to help not only entertain the crew members, but help the individuals playing the game learn basic strategy. But other than that, I mean, like, I'm going to bring this up. I actually found that it is a real game, but it's not played the same as you see in the Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where you're playing Orlog. O-R-L-O-N-G. Orlog. Or not, no. There was no N. It was just L-O-G. Now, somebody made a game, probably Hasbro, that was based on the game in the video game. Well, they had something similar, but it wasn't the same as what you see on the video game. On the video game. It had stones and runic symbols and whatnot to use in the game, but it wasn't just a simple who can defeat the other one based on strategy. In fact, they even had simple card games. Yes, they found out that the Norsemen took either a piece of wood or a piece of leather, or a piece of wood wrapped in leather with a runic symbol etched into or burned into the letter, or burned into the leather or the piece of wood or whatever, and they treated it in such a way that it would last a long time. They found those in grave sites. Yeah. Leather-bound pieces of wood with symbols marked on it and shaped like a card. Card games. And I was interested in all that, and I dug through different websites and whatnot. And if my information is correct, there's some websites that seem a little sketchy, but other websites seems on the up and up. I do not trust that Waikiki or Wikipedia. I don't trust that. I found so many pieces of information from other sources that were not Wikipedia that basically proved that Wikipedia had it wrong. But if I remember correctly, I think I was reading something about one of the Oslo museums that has a lot of Nordic artifacts and whatnot in it. And I think one of them, I don't know if it was the same one with the big old giant burial ship that they found. I can't remember where they found that. I know they found it with two Nordic women. They think one was a queen or a princess, and the other one was the person's handmaiden. But they found all kinds of different stuff with that boat, including the cards that I just talked about. They're in display in Oslo, one of their many museums. But it's interesting to read about it. When I go to do this tomorrow, I will get back on track. We were in the section about building kingdoms. If you didn't hear the first part where I talked about building blocks of a nation, and I read the information for not Norway. What was the first one I read? No, I was going to read the section that they started talking about Norway. The Vikings of Norway. But to end this, even though I hit 30 minutes a moment ago, I want to say this much. The history of the Norse people is not just very interesting and has a lot of... I mean, you can read all the information on the Nordic people that is available today. And we're still finding out more and more information, from archaeology to historians to writings to records that a monk or somebody who wrote down information about the Norsemen. And then, of course, we've got all these different new shows coming up about Vikings and the Norsemen or Northmen. I mean, you've got the Lost Kingdom, or Last Kingdom. You've got the Norsemen or Northmen. I think it's called the Northmen. You've got Vikings, and then Vikings Valhalla. There's all kinds of good movies or docudramas or whatever you want to call them that has come out in the last 10 years that are more realistic to what the Vikings really were than most people think. Now, the one thing that I haven't seen yet, except for bits and pieces from the Vikings with Ragnar Lothbrok, which is supposed to be his story, you don't always see the domesticated side of the Vikings in some of these shows. You only see the bloody battles and skirmishes and all that. They don't... not all of them. Well, I haven't seen them all, so I can't really say not all of them. But there's so much more about the Norsemen or the Vikings that TV doesn't always show. Because a lot of times the information they have from that era is from a skald or a poet, and they talk about the deeds, not the lives, not the everyday stuff, but the hardcore adventures and the hardcore battles. And, you know, King Harald Fairhair held his ground during the battle of whatever. Things of that nature. Like, I have found out by my readings, if any of you have watched the Vikings, the original series, Rollo is not a cousin or brother of the Lothbroks. He may be a descendant of the Lothbroks, and there are stories about Rollo that became a prince amongst the French people and created an area of northern France now known as Normandy. Normandy Beach. Or not Normandy. So, is it Normandy or is it a B-sounding name? I can't remember. I'm sorry. But I know Rollo was not he was not directly involved during the same time that Lothbrok was around. Ragnar was around. So it's kind of one of those, who was Rollo? Was he really a descendant of Ragnar Lothbrok from one of his sons? Or was he somebody who came along shortly after Ragnar Lothbrok died? There's no real... It's hard to find where Rollo is connected with Ragnar. Whether it was the Ragnar sons who had combat or something to deal with him or what. But we know he came around shortly after Ragnar and became a prince, or he either became a prince or conquered a section of France that the French people just said keep it. And I can't remember if it was Burgundy or Normandy. I'd have to go look it up again. I'm sorry. If you know, put it in the comment box. You know what? As much as you may be learning from me, I love to learn things that you guys might know about that I could not find. Like, one of my subscribers put in the comment box to give me information that I did not have. And I'm sorry, my brain did not remember it all. I just remember reading the comment going, oh, okay. Oh, that's what it was. It had something to do with food, and I was talking about how the guy who's in charge of the kitchen at S&T that I work out of, his title is chef. And she was talking about fast food restaurants or fast food organizations don't have chefs. They're just called cooks. Well, in the industry I work in, is not considered totally fast food because he's in control of the kitchen. I work fast food. A lot of the other people around us work fast food, but his main job is not only to make sure that we have the supplies and whatnot we need for our venues, but he is also in charge of making the foods for our catering. And he does have 3 certificates in culinary arts hanging up in his office. So he is a chef by title as well as by training. But he chooses to work at the college as being in charge of the kitchen to make sure everybody's doing things right and doing the foods for catering. So most of his job, most of what he does is food prep, food cooking, and whatnot for the catering service. His main purpose there, besides that, is just to make sure nobody does something stupid. But he is a chef. But I do appreciate the explanation I got from the individual. Unfortunately, I do not remember the individual's name, so that's my bad. I might have to check to see if something just got dropped off on my porch. I don't know. I'm not expecting anything in it. I'm not expecting anything else that I know of. But anyhow, I'm gonna go ahead and end here. I'm hoping tomorrow I can talk to you about the building of the kingdom of the Norsemen. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put it in the comment box. I'm not warning anybody of anything anymore. If your comments are not of a positive nature or an educational nature without being rude or overbearing, I don't deal with you that anymore. That just goes bye-bye. Oh, one of my books fell over. Or did it? But I'm not dealing with negative people no more. I'm done with that. So just be mindful of your tones, your wordage, and how they come out and how they look. I know some people say, but it wasn't rude. No, it wasn't rude, but it was worded in such a manner that it was just taken as a rude comment. I know I found a couple comments in my purgatory list and went, oh, that's not a bad comment. Put it out there. Let everybody see that comment. But I'm not worried about any of the hate groups anymore. And they can hate all they want. All that's going to happen is their hatred is going to build up, and they're going to have the wrong thought or wrong action, and it's going to return to them in 3. Yes, I do believe in the power of 3. I believe in a lot of things that people say is not Christian, but you know what? You have to look at it from two different sets of eyes, basically, and I'll explain that some other day. But anyhow, if you like if you liked what I had to say and you want to join my channel, you can hit the subscribe button, and then a little bell will pop up, and you can click on that bell, and YouTube will let you know when I put in my next video. So until next time, see you guys later. Bye.